Thanks for standing by and welcome to the PainChek SPP and shareholder update webinar. All participants are in a listen-only mode. There'll be a presentation lasting for approximately 15 to 20 minutes, followed by Q&A. If you have a question you'd like to submit, please feel free to type it in using the Q&A function within Zoom. Please note the session today is being recorded. On behalf of PainChek today, we have the CEO and Managing Director, Philip Daffis. Philip has held senior business leadership positions, building global medical device businesses in the cardiovascular, diabetes, hearing impairment and pathology sectors. Roles with Cochlear included European Sales and Marketing Director based in London, prior to being promoted to Cochlear's VP of Global Marketing based in Sydney. Philip's earlier experience was in Europe with Pfizer, Eli Lilly and Roche Diagnostics, where he was the Global Marketing Director in the Diabetes Care Business Unit based in Mannheim, Germany. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Philip. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome everyone. Thank you for your time today. Really pleased to be able to meet again and talk on two aspects there. Actually, one is to revisit and visit with you and cover the recent quarterly update, which was a very positive update for the company. And secondly, to really go through the SPP, the share purchase plan, which is available to you today, and to cover any sort of core questions around that and encourage people to take up their entitlements. Before I do go into that, just quick background about the company and what we do. And as I often say, pain assessment is difficult at the best of times. And our purpose and our mission is to give a voice to those people who cannot reliably verbalize their pain. On one extreme is adults, people such as those with dementia and cognitive impairment who have lost their ability to communicate effectively. And on the other extreme, pre-verbal children who have not yet built those communication skills as yet. So we've developed PainChek tools and apps, medical rated apps using AI and smart automation that service both these vulnerable groups. So if you look at the PainChek adult app very quickly, as I said before, it's a regulatory cleared product. It's a medical device that comes in the form of a mobile app, and it assesses pain for those who cannot reliably verbalize. It works on any compatible iOS or Android smart device. How does PainChek work? Well, first of all, it utilizes AI in the form of an automated facial recognition analysis to detect up to 9 microfacial muscle movements that indicate presence of pain. And then these areas are things like face, brow lowering, nose wrinkling, parting lips, and eyes closing. The process is very simple and rapid. First of all, we access the mobile phone to pick up those expressions of pain and document those for the carer. And then secondly, we guide the carer through digital checklists to make observations of their residents and pick up those other observations of pain. Those are combined together, and then PainChek automatically calculates a pain score and assigns a pain intensity rating, either no pain, mild, moderate, or severe. So with all the talk on AI these days and the replacement of people at work, we're not here to replace people. We're actually here to combine both artificial intelligence and human intelligence to help carers deliver better care for their residents. So we're not replacing people, we're enhancing their capability. In terms of valuing these markets, we've got now sufficient knowledge of the global aged care market, around 6 million aged care beds. That's excluding China, which is actually could be another 4 or 5 million. And at our proven business model of SaaS business model, around $50 per bed per annum, we know we've got a global market opportunity of at least 300 million per annum in the aged care market across US, Europe, and Australia and New Zealand. In comparison, the home care market, we know, which we're starting in now, we've got some first sales in home care, that's going to be significantly larger, up to 10 times larger of aged care, as the population really starts to look to stay at home, and as technology and government services and funding transitions to home environments. So we started aged care and we're shifting to the larger home care market with time. The infant market is significantly larger than all of these markets, 400 million pre-verbal children, 150 million to first-time parents. And our first product for that has now gone through some significant developments, good market research, and we're ready to launch this product in the next quarter. And finally, the hospital market, we're entering that market with our partners, Systems globally. They're a major hospital player, and we've started already in Scotland, and we'll continue to expand over this year. Just a quick summary on the December highlights, very positive results. One of the leading ones is massive acceleration in the UK, more than 25,000 contracted beds in a market that's up to 500,000 beds, and that's 29% growth quarter on quarter. We're getting closer to our US entry. We're right in the middle of our clinical trial in the United States for US FDA clearance. And Australia and New Zealand continues to grow very nicely. 60,000 beds now in Australia, 85,000 licenses globally, and around 4 million ARR. And that includes about 500 licenses in Canada. We'll see significant growth in these markets over the next months as we get ready to enter the US market. So to look at the actual numbers, there's 85,000 contracted licenses, reflected 3.9 million ARR with a 70 to 85% gross margin. And it says here, this is our 5th consecutive quarter of double-digit growth. This is also 60% growth over the past 12 months. We've actually signed up additional 30,000 beds across more than 500 aged care facilities, which is phenomenal. And of those 85,000 beds, about 60,000 are implemented. There's always a lag phase between signing up and implementing, sometimes for reasons out of our control. But we've actually got increased our capability in our team to fast track the remaining 25,000 beds and therefore to recognise that revenue as soon as possible. Retention rates increased to 92% in the last quarter, which is above average for the industry. And the losses we get is really more about smaller aged care facilities who are struggling to integrate or struggling to get things moving. So we'll come back to them at the appropriate time. The other good thing about this is our ARR is getting closer and closer to that 4.8 initial million target, around 100,000 beds. And that number of around 100,000 beds would broadly cover our core operating costs, excluding R&D corporate expansion costs. And that's going to be a first great business milestone for the company. We look at our progress in Australia. The market here is really consolidating with larger providers acquiring smaller homes. And these large providers are going fully digital. And of course, PainChek is the only digital regulatory cleared product to assess pain. So we're well penetrated in aged care. We're probably the most popular digital tool available. Now 30% market share in Australia. As of Australia, we've got, as of December, we've now got more than 800 aged care facilities and 60,000 beds on commercial terms. This includes large, mid-size and small aged care facilities and across all states. If you look at the large clients we have, just most recently, Bolton Clark, the largest provider in Australia, they've expanded their PainChek agreement from 3,500 beds to 8,000 beds, again showing that the market's consolidating and we are very, very strong in that area. And we've got a very, very strong pipeline to continue to explore and penetrate the 200,000 bed market. Look at the UK. Well, we make significant progress there. It's a much larger market. It's about 500,000 beds. But the aged care facilities are much smaller, around 40 to 50 beds per home. But also, like Australia, going through a consolidation process, again, where PainChek fits in best. The more they consolidate, the more they digitalise, the perfect scenario for PainChek. So the past quarter, interestingly, we had another 24 new agreements, another 6,700 beds, another additional 142 homes. And that includes the We Care group, which is now our largest group, 400 beds across their large client base. In addition, in the UK, we're obviously in Scotland on two fronts. We've got the Scottish aged care programme in place, which is looking very good. I've also started to work with the Edinburgh Royal Infirmary for the hospital market with Mint Systems, and that's in its pilot phase right now. So the other thing we like to measure, which is really important, is our utility. More than 4.1 million global assessments conducted as of December. It's actually way above 4.5 million now. I think we'll be hitting that 5 million number very rapidly, which basically shows that there's a significant utility of the product. We've now also trained more than 13,000 carers. And being a digital technology, we can do a lot of our training remotely, should we need to, which helps fast track the process and optimize cost for both parties. So growth in utilization and growth in training are excellent markers of a sustainable business growth, as it reflects the uptake, the utilization of the product, and also the knowledge of how to use the product. And once that's embedded, it becomes the new gold standard. We also provide to all our clients, of course, data analytics. It's not actually provided here in the detail, but we provide them real insights as how they're managing pain, monthly reports, weekly reports, which allows them to use it for their accreditation and their funding purposes. So we're not just a product, we're a real value-added service to our clients. We've been very fortunate to have partnered with more than 20 medication management and integration partners around Australia, UK, New Zealand, and North America. And they give us access actually to more than 1.5 million beds in those markets. Now, the point about this is that these guys are very important in terms of integration, so we can actually ensure all PainChek assessments are seamlessly delivered into their medical records. But they're also helping us through co-marketing and now reselling in many areas directly to their client groups. What this means is we're getting easier and faster access to sales, implementation, and more rapid market growth in both the aged care and the home care markets, where a lot of these clients of ours also dominate. And I'll just touch on the US. Obviously, big focus for us this year is to get into the US market, and we are in the midst of the clinical study, which is part of our FDA de novo clearance. The study is happening in Iowa and in New York, and we're projected to complete and submit this work by the end of April this year, and so therefore targeting regulatory clearance in the US for the second half of calendar 2024. As it says here, America is the largest, or North America is the largest aged care market in the world, with about 2 million beds. And we've already seen sales in Canada where we have Canadian health clearance. So in preparation to really fast track our entry, we've got 3 important partnerships with Point Click Care, with Ethos Labs and InterSystems. Right now, 2 of my colleagues are in New Orleans with Point Click Care at the US Global Sales Summit, meeting all the major providers in aged care and building that portfolio of sales for the future. That's both US clients and Canadian clients, which we can sell to now, and US clients to get ready for when we actually launch. We've got a partnership with Ethos Labs, who will be helping to distribute the product directly. They're a pain specialist group, and they have sales around the country, and they will help us rapidly exploit those US long-term market opportunities. And as I mentioned before, InterSystems, they're really in the hospital sector. We've got the study happening now, or the pilot happening now in Edinburgh. That should be communicated to their global summit in June in Maryland this year. And that's where they'll have about 1,000 of their global clients from all hospitals around the world, again, as a basis for rapid expansion into the hospital sector. So very important partners in these big markets. And we're looking at a few more, by the way. So this summarizes where we are around the world. Very dominant in position in Australia and building that in New Zealand. Rapidly growing in a larger market, significantly larger market in the UK. Established sales in Canada, which will further expand into the US market late this year with our 3 partners. And then finally, we're also exploring Europe, some partnership opportunities in Germany and France. And we're in very good contact with the PDMA in Japan, with the regulatory group, which will follow directly after we get US clearance. And of course, Japan is the 2nd largest market in the world for people living with dementia. Finally, in terms of the PainChek infant product, we've now finalized some consumer market research, the 2nd stage of research with first-time parents of kids below the age of 1. Feedback was very positive, gave us feedback on the product, the channels, and the take-up of the product. And it's also validated the facial technology. We've adapted the facial technology to bring in what we call the adaptive facial detection system to address the issue of rapid movement of the child, and that's working really well. And we've also looked at the first version of our vocalization feature. This is a feature using the microphone or smart device to determine a cry of pain or a cry of no pain, which could be like a Shazam type of technology. So very exciting. We're going to the market in the next quarter with the face-only version first. There's a lot of work still to do on refining and also doing some validation work on the vocalization feature. So we're going first with the infant facial-only technology next quarter, and then that's the Australia first, and then expansion later down the line to overseas markets for both the facial and eventually the vocalization feature. So this is an exciting segment for us, because if you look at this, think about, how this can really impact pain management at home. When a parent or caregiver hears an infant's cry, we will have 2 versions of PainChek to assess that. We'll have the facial technology to measure and monitor ongoing pain levels. That's like a diagnostic tool. And we'll have the vocalization technology that will pick up the sounds and determine, is that a cry of pain or is that not a cry of pain? Combining these will give mums and dads, and this is, remember, 150 million around the world to first-time parents every year, a better ability to intervene and treat accordingly, and to provide that information to their doctors or family members who also look after their child. So the world's first AI-enabled pain assessment tool, and we're making pain visible and audible for this significantly large and vulnerable group. So finally, up on the corporate summary, thank you to our shareholders for ongoing support. The company is now generating real cash to fund the business and demonstrating strong top-line growth compared to previous years, and significant growth opportunities. The current SPP and the placement that we're talking about today is now available, and they're available for the shareholders to take up, and it's underwritten by Canaccord to the tune of around 2.5 million. That funding, along with the R&D rebate, the current cash in the bank, and the new growing sales, will take us through 2024 to achieve really important milestones and catalysts, which are outlined in your share purchase plan documents. The high level of these catalysts are, first of all, our goal this year is to enter the US 2 million bed aged care market in the second half of 2024 with our US-based partners, and that's post the completion of submission of our current FDA de novo clearance work. In parallel, we will continue to accelerate the sales of commercial beds in aged care and home care across our 4 existing markets, leveraging the pipeline of sales and more than the 20 integration partners who are also helping to resell our products. And finally, with hospitals, we will continue the hospital presence post the InterSystems results from our work with the hospital in Scotland. Excitingly, we're embarking on the direct-to-parent program with an infant app to access the large infant home care market. And all these catalysts, we believe, will drive sales in the short term, and feedback indicators that these will also be significant value in terms of improving the value of the company. So this is the actual timetable. Just want to remind everyone, you should have received your share purchase plan booklets, and the details is available on the ASX. All shareholders can participate in the SPP up to $30,000. Options are available in parcels of 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, and 30,000. So it's different parcels. And for the shareholders, it's attractive as it's discounted at 20% of the last 5-day average VWAP to the issue date. So it's available now. The closing date is next Monday. So I suggest you get your forms in prior to this week to be safe. For your information, I'm personally obviously doing the full 30,000. And if you do have questions on this, please contact Boardroom directly. Their contact information is in the booklet and also on the ASX. So maybe I'll hold it there and take some questions.
Thank you very much, Philip. You can stop sharing your screen there. You've already beat me to it. Very good. So we'll move on to the Q&A, as you've alluded to. The questions are based on some sent through via email, but also using the Q&A function within Zoom. So once again, for listeners, if you have a question you'd like to submit, please feel free to type it in on your screen. Philip, the first question I have is, with the training, management and sales staff required to manage these increasing markets, cash burn is outpacing income. At what point in time will we know real figures, the real figures required that sees the company in net profit after all costs?
Well, I think we've said many, many times on this is that 100,000 beds, or around 4.5 to 5 million ARR, covers our core existing operating costs, excluding R&D and expansion. And as you can see from the numbers today, we're already touching distance of that position. You know, what I constantly say, if we stopped all our overseas activities and all expansion activities, we would break even today at 85,000 beds. But we would be an Australian-only business that serves a few overseas markets from Australia. So our real goal is to get to that 200,000 bed mark number, which is our second step in our process, or around 10 million ARR, because that would cover our total global operating costs, and those costs are across the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and North America. And that will take us to our initial break-even number. Given that if you look at the opportunity we have, the North American, UK, and Australian markets cover 2.7 million aged care beds. That means we only need to penetrate around 7% of these combined markets to get to that 200,000 bed or 10 million ARR. And it's worthwhile remembering we've already got 30% penetration alone in New Zealand, as Australia and New Zealand, and close to 7% in the UK. So goal is two-step. One is to get to 100,000 bed. We're very close to it. And secondly is to maximize our opportunity to get to 200,000 bed, of which is less than 10%, around 7% of our market opportunity in our existing markets, including the United States.
Great, thanks, Philip. With the current implementation rates, would it be fair to say the company will be break even by 2030? If you see that earlier, how does the company plan on realistically speeding up the process?
Well, I think the thing about the calculation here, about 30,000 beds in 18 months, yes, we have signed up 30,000 beds, implemented 30,000 in 18 months, but most of that growth is in the past 18 months has been in Australia, one of the smallest markets in aged care with 200,000 beds. Our current growth is now coming from the UK. Australia is still growing, but the bigger growth is coming from the UK, and later this year from North America. The UK is a 500,000 bed market, North America 2 million bed market. And we've got a partner in place in the US already that covers more than 1 million beds. That's point-click care. So these larger markets and existing partners will help rapidly take us from that 85,000 bed number to the 200,000 bed number and the 10 million, and that would be our core break-even number.
Thanks, Philip. Will there be an announcement to the ASX when the FDA submission is formally submitted, and is this still on track for end of April 2024?
The answer to those two questions is yes and yes. We're highly focused on complete the clinical trials in the US. That's mentioned before in Iowa and New York. We're looking to get that work completed by the end of April and submitted to the FDA, and therefore get into the market in 2024. And is again another reason why we're raising this new capital, because it's the largest market in the world, will be the only digital pain assessment technology in the United States. It's a significant opportunity, and I believe that will significantly re-rate this whole business.
Thanks, Philip. Next question is there any update on Bupa or HC1?
Yes, these are, for people who don't know, Bupa and HC1 are two UK clients we're working with. With Bupa, by the way, these are both more than 10,000 beds, each of these clients in the UK. So Bupa, the PainChek trial will be commencing once our CMS partner has made an update to the integration systems as requested by Bupa. The update basically improves information flow of PainChek into the Bupa medication system, and this should be complete in the next quarter, and then that will go. HC1 is already in progress and is part of the phase 2 of the existing Scottish Care Initiative. And so therefore we'll get the results from the HC1 pilot later in the second quarter of this calendar year. Remember, these are all large opportunities, and we've got very good working integrations with CMS partners, who's giving us access to 400,000 of those 500,000 beds in the UK. So partnerships and access to these large clients is happening at a fast pace in the UK.
Thank you. The next question is, when will the infant app be released?
Well, as I just covered a few minutes ago, we've concluded that final piece of market research, consumer market research, great feedback on the product, the positioning and the education elements, and we're now implementing those through our product and our UI team to preparing for initial market release in Q2 2024. This will be direct to parents. It will be for the iOS only version. We're focusing just on iOS at this stage, and Android will come later. And I'll give you more of an update on that in the next quarter. But to be clear, the first version of this will be targeted to a number of first-time parents of children between the age of 1 month to 1 year. The access will initially be controlled by PainChek, so it'll be a controlled release, and then as we learn from that, the subsequent releases will expand to broader target groups and eventually full commercial availability through the App Store, where they can basically then just buy it, download it, and use it. So two or three step process. But the first step starts next quarter.
Thank you. The next question is there any update on the bid for the 18,000 beds with the DHSC?
Right, yeah, and the DHSC, be clear for everyone, that's the Department of Health and Social Care in the UK. Yes, look, we had a number of bids within that Adult Social Care Tech Fund programme, and while we weren't successful with one of the larger bids, we are now waiting the outcome of another one of these social bids, which we made with our partner groups. This could be very significant for England, and as you know, we've already got government funding in Scotland and government funding happening in Wales. So we should hear this within the next week or two, and as soon as we get the information, we will update the market fully.
Next question is, when will the Edinburgh Hospital trial finish?
Oh, the Edinburgh Hospital. Well, that's in process. They're already using the product. The final release of the InterSystems middleware is happening, I think, first week in March. But the work they're doing will be actually presented at the InterSystems US conference in Maryland in June. That's where the Edinburgh Royal Infirmary team will present their results. And that will be to an audience of around 1,000 people from around the world. So that's going to be our effective launch point, and the study work will be presented at that meeting, and then we'll use that as the launch pad for international sales for the hospital sector.
Thank you. The next question is, it appears that the only exit strategy is to be acquired by a company that has a means to gain rapid distribution after FDA approval. Is this the plan, or is there a strategy to deliver shareholder value, and when?
Well, first of all, I said that's not the only strategy, but what I would say, obviously, once we have FDA clearance into the US market, as I said earlier, we're likely very attracted to several larger medical tech companies. That's natural, because we'll be the only medical device cleared by FDA to assess pain, with no competition in sight, and a US patent that will keep us that way till 2038. So, yeah, we'll be attractive. We'll be very attractive, I believe. However, my background and history is working with companies like Cochlear and other large companies who are able to build a global presence and a US presence and to remain independent. So as I said earlier, I've covered the scalability of the technology. This product is very scalable. We just need a small number, effectively 200,000 beds out of the 6 million worldwide aged care beds and 2 million in the US alone to break to profitability. And we've got those 3 partnerships that are covered before in the US to help take us there rapidly. And once we get there, then we can control our destiny. Whether we have a very attractive offer that all the shareholders think we should take is one option, but actually, remaining independent and becoming a global successful business is an option that I'm working on 24/7.
Thanks, Philip. Another question that's come through is, how are revenues from the infant app collected? Is it monthly via the App Store?
Eventually, it will be option of two through the. I mean, obviously we have the ability to bill directly to parents, but that's on a smaller scale, and that's how we'll work in the first phase of the launch of the infant app. But eventually, it will be on the App Store, and we're looking at two models. And one is, an annual fee which people will take, or a monthly fee. So both will be available. And we're looking at pricing right now, but we were always working on the idea of $10 per month per family, per infant. But that's the sort of core strategy there.
Thank you. A more general question is how badly has inflation and high interest rates impacted on expenses for the business?
Oh, that's a good question. Not that significantly. Being a software business, we have longer term contracts. Our salaries have been kept in control. And I think we did a 2 or 3% increase on average this year for our team. And of course, all our team are incentivized with stock options. And I think that's all how they see the long-term growth and the value of the business. So yes, we make sure our staff are well compensated, but we're not the biggest payers, but we do offer both the short-term incentive, salary short-term incentive, but almost all of our staff are incentivized also by stock options, which is the long-term goal for them.
Thank you. Another question that's come through is, with the US understanding that there is more beds, will the partnerships enable a quicker implementation rate? And is it too early to provide any sort of forecast around this?
Oh, absolutely. The partnerships will really help because integration means implementation will be faster. We've got a partner in two of our partners one of our partners will actually help sell the product as well. And of course, with good integration, implementation runs much faster. So the fact that PainChek Care covers 1 million beds, over 2 million in the US, and we're talking, by the way, to another group who've probably about 300 to 400,000 themselves, then that is the key to rapid integration, rapid implementation.
Thank you. There's been a couple of questions come through just around the 200,000 beds number and what sort of timeline that might look like. Can you provide any sort of extra color on that, Philip?
We don't like to predict timelines because it's hard to sort of predict the time. But if you look at the rate we've grown, and if you look at the fact we're in the US market by the end of this year, which is 1 million beds, 1 million beds integrated PainChek Care, but 2 million beds in total, 500,000 beds in the UK, which 400,000 of those are integrated with our current partners. That's a basis, right? We'll have by middle of this, towards the end of this year, we'll have an additional 1.5 million beds access. So to go from 85,000 to 200,000 is not a big step. It's not a big step at all. It's in our control. And our goal is to get there obviously as rapidly as possible.
Thank you. And a final question, which is one that's a little bit different, but someone has asked, can your technology potentially be adopted to other emotional areas, including integration into AI to perhaps analyze other areas such as other feelings away from pain?
Well, it could, yes, it could absolutely. But can I just say we're very focused on pain. So what we want to do is, in fact, I said it at a previous presentation, is right now our pain assessment. This is about expanding utilization, expanding the market. Our current technology is focused on people who can't verbalize, but because our technology covers 42 test points and gives great profiles on people's pain, we see the future whereby PainChek will be started to be used by all the population to give a better assessment, understanding, and a monitoring of what's driving the pain and what's causing the pain, or what indicators are there to personalize pain management. So it's a bit like when I was at Cochlear, when we first started Cochlear, we just implanted totally profoundly deaf people. They had been deaf for 20, 30 years and there had been no hearing whatsoever. Today, Cochlear is implanting people who have got hearing in one, full hearing in one ear, but part of the other ear that's deaf or severely deaf. So it's about expanding indications. We started off very focused on aged care. We're now moving to home care, moved to hospitals. We've got some work happening now in disabilities with the Western Australian government, a disabilities app for the kids. And I see profiling, giving adults who can't explain their pain to their doctors, but profiling that pain so doctors can manage their pain better. These are you and I, everyday adults. That's how we see how we expand indications, because there's nobody doing that. And that's one of the exciting growth aspects we can see. I want to go very deep into pain so we can assess and manage pain for everybody in the future.
Great. Thanks, Philip, and thanks to everyone for the questions. If you do have anything that you think of afterwards, after this webinar, please feel free to email them through and we'll come back to you that way. But I'll hand it back to Philip just to provide a closing comment.
Yeah, look, and the closing comment is really to all shareholders to say, look, I think this is a great opportunity. We want all shareholders to participate in this opportunity. It's to buy into the share purchase plan. Obviously, do what you can do. Obviously, don't do what you can't do. But I encourage you to participate. And I'd like you to sort of think, a lot of questions I got about is when you're going to be profitable, when do you get to break even? One thing I'd like you to reflect is that the reason why we have in Australia global medical companies such as Cochlear and ResMed and CSL is because at the outset they realized they had a unique global market opportunity. And they were given the time to expand and make a real global high-value business. When I joined Cochlear, I hate to say it was back in 1997 in Europe, as the head of sales and marketing for the European business. The share price was about $3. And it took about 11 months of sales to get to actually break-even point. Even though they were unlisted and they would have been going for more than 10 years, it took a long time to get to break-even for the company. But they didn't ever say, let's just focus on Australia and get to break-even rapidly. They saw the global opportunity. And today, if you look at their share price, it's $300 plus. It's 100 times where it was back in 1997. PainChek has got the same unique global market opportunity. We've demonstrated the market take-up and the need in Australia, New Zealand, UK, and Canada. Most significant markets. We wouldn't sell in those markets if it wasn't a useful product. And we've done that just 7 years after taking the technology out of the university, including 2 years of COVID, which was debilitating. So, I believe we're going to get to a similar global market approach. We're taking a similar global market approach, which I believe could achieve a break-even point even far faster than we did do at Cochlear. And that's why we're focused on continued international expansion of the business, existing markets, US markets, kids product, to optimize value for the shareholders and create a new successful global Australian medtech company. And that's why we're giving all shareholders this opportunity. And I encourage everyone to participate in the SPP and give us the runway to achieve these results and deliver greater value to our clients and to our shareholders alike. And I'd like to hold it there. Thank you. Oh, sorry, can I add one more thing? If you have any questions about the SPP, please reach out to Boardroom. Please reach, the information on the ASX. And if you need to contact us at Cochlear, us at PainChek as well, we're very, very happy to give you that support.
Great, thanks, Philip, and thanks to everyone for joining today. Once again, the replay will be available afterwards if you want to come back and review anything. But thanks for your time. We look forward to updating you in the future.
Thank you, everyone.